This is the Louie T Network.
In the lab room.
Welcome, you are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on this Friday edition of In the Lab Room. I needed to quickly get on the board. It's been a long week. I've been doing divisional breakdowns, and so really wasn't a lot of time to do In the Lab Room episodes. So it feels really good to just be back here in the lab room talking to you about the sport that I love, football. And let's break this Sunday slate of games down. I already put the Jacksonville win on the board, so that was great. Always, before we can move on, I'm going to condense this Friday edition into a episode that is Wednesday, is Thursday, is Friday, all in one, because again, didn't do a Tuesday, didn't do a Wednesday, Thursday episode this week because of how busy I was doing the divisional breakdowns for all the divisions throughout the National Football League. So this is going to be an all-encompassing episode here in the lab room on this Friday edition. So I'm going to quickly run through what I was able to accomplish last week, quickly run through the Soul Survivor pick for last week and this week, and give you my picks as well. So it's going to be all of those episodes, your Wednesday, your Thursday, and your Friday, all in one. So let's go back to last week, week 13. I was able to go 11-5. I told you I wanted to see what C-Dub did because he felt really good about matching my 8-5-1 from week 12. So I looked at C-Dub's picks and I made sure I carefully kept up with what he was doing. C-Dub went 9-7. Again, if you're going to try to step to the throne, then you got to come correct. He lost a number of games. Some of them I can't fault him for. Again, I went 11-5 in week 13, and we lost some of the same games, but he went out on a limb on a couple of games. And again, you know how that can be. When you go out on a limb, you can get bitten really quickly. Some teams can let you down, and he went and he picked New Orleans, and he also picked another team that I really didn't think had a really legitimate shot at winning, and that was St. Louis in week 13 on the road against San Francisco. Both of those games came back to haunt him. Some other games we disagreed on. Arizona, Philly. He picked Philly. He got the win there. I did not. I lost the Chicago game, or excuse me, he lost the Chicago game. That was another game that was different between the two of us. I didn't think Minnesota was going to lose that game. I thought that the Bears would go into Minnesota and lose. I think they're on one of those nosedives, but we'll see if they can right the ship in week number 14 at home against Dallas. That's a huge game on Monday night, but he had he had Chicago, I had Minnesota, so I was able to avoid a loss there, but he was not. But in that same breath, I went with Buffalo. He went with Buffalo as well. We both took an L there. I thought the Bills would be able to get a win against Atlanta, who was on the road. But again, they got to stop playing those games in Canada. That's not a home field advantage for the Bills. If that game is at Orchard Park, I think the Bills win that game, but it was in Canada. It just seems so dead in Canada. I don't like when they play their games there, and I don't think they get good results when they play those games there either. I could be wrong, but I just didn't feel the same vibe that I do when they play at home at Orchard Park. But I lost that game. So did C-Dub. You look at another game that I wasn't able to get, Cleveland losing at home to Jacksonville. That was very disappointing to me, but the Jacksonville Jaguars are playing good football. You saw that on Thursday night, and I'll get to that in a second, but both of us lost that game. C-Dub had Cleveland. I had Cleveland as well. He also went out on a limb like I did and picked San Diego. San Diego let us down. Look, Cincinnati is a really good football team. I just thought that San Diego would be able to get them at home. Not the best road team, but they're playing better on the road. They were able to go and make a statement and beat the San Diego Chargers in San Diego. So we both lost that game. Look at another game that I wasn't able to get, and C-Dub went on the right side on this one. He picked Miami. I picked the Jets. Again, silly me. I thought the Jets would go home, play some good defense, do just enough offensively, win the game. I was wrong. C-Dub got that one correct. I did not. So essentially, that's my 5 losses. And you can see C-Dub struggled in a couple of areas, but he went 9-7. That's still respectable. But again, I'm a double digits guy. You know how I am. I want to get at least 10 on the board. And there's 16 games from here on out. There are no more buys. So there's a full 16 game slate every week. I got to get at least 10. 10-6 to me is really ridiculous. 10-6, that's too many losses in any given week, but I'll take 10-6 because it's still double digits. I went 11-5. That's respectable, especially in a tough week like last week. But I got to be even better this week. And so I gave you a Soul Survivor that was worthy of a correct pick last week. Gave you the Saints taking care of business on Thursday night, and they did exactly that. Or excuse me, I gave you the Cowboys taking care of business on Thursday on Thanksgiving against the Raiders, and they did that. So I was successful once again on my Soul Survivor pick. So you need to trust me on that. Here's my record now after the slate of games last week. Now let's go into week 14. And just a quick sidebar, my man Jay Moo gave me his picks as well. And Jay Moo was actually finished in second of all the people that gave me their picks. He actually went 10-6 last week. So I went 11-5. Jay Moo went 10-6. And C-Dub went 9-7. So again, like I said, I'll always be one better than the next closest person. And that's just how I operate, you know. So I was able to take care of business once again. But moving on to week number 14. Soul Survivor pick. I don't have a chance to do all the bells and whistles again. This week has been rough. It's been a long week, but very productive. So you won't hear me complain. But Soul Survivor for this week is going to be, and it's still, there's a tough slate of games. The NFL has dubbed this week Survivor Sunday in the National Football League, and it's a very fitting title. A lot of teams need to win some games. There's going to be a lot of big showdowns in week number 14, but for me, the Soul Survivor pick is Baltimore over Minnesota. I don't see the Minnesota Vikings going into Baltimore and getting a win. The Ravens have to have this game. They're fighting for their playoff lives. They're at home. Adrian Peterson is the only way that the Vikings win this game, and I think the Ravens know that, and I think they're going to step their game up and try to do everything in their power to make sure that they win this game. And I think this Ravens defense has been underrated this year because of the struggles of their offense and the record being what it is. I think a lot of people have not given this Ravens defense enough credit as this season has progressed. I think the Ravens are going to step up defensively, get it done, force a couple of turnovers, win that game at home. That's your Soul Survivor pick of week number 14. Now let's get to the slate of games in week 14 as I go through all the winners and give you what I think is going to ultimately occur in week number 14. So let's get right into it, give you my winners, and we can get out of here and move on. Starting with Oakland at the Jets. I think Oakland is the better team between these two football teams. The Raiders, surprisingly enough, have the better quarterback situation going into this football game, which is rare for the Raiders. They can rarely say, hey, we have a better quarterback situation than you right now. But that is exactly the case in this Week 14 matchup. The Jets are just scrambling at the quarterback position. Geno Smith has struggled mightily in his rookie season, has not impressed, and he was actually benched last week at halftime. They're going back to Geno Smith, which I think is a solid decision. But again, at this point, I don't know what they're doing. They're looking for a spark. I guess Rex was thinking, hey, maybe, just maybe, Matt Sims can come in the game, give us a spark, we can win this game. But benching Geno Smith right now isn't a smart move if you're the Jets. I think the guy's going to struggle. He's a rookie. You let him struggle. You leave him out there, and you let him get better. That's the only way he's going to get better, not being benched in favor of Matt Sims. It'd be one thing if they were bringing in a backup veteran that you thought could come in and give you a spark, but you're trying just anything. It seems like Rex is just trying to save his job at this point. Either way, the Raiders are going to win this game on the road. They're the better team. They're the better quarterback situation. Give me the Raiders in this football game. You look at the next game, Tampa Bay at home versus Buffalo, both coming off of losses. They've been playing good football of late, have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bills have been so-so of late, but again, when they're at home, they're a dangerous team, but they weren't at home last week. They were in Canada, and they lost to the Falcons, another bad football team. And so I'm not really high on the Bills right now after that loss to Atlanta. I thought they were starting to do some big things in Buffalo, and then they have that kind of clunker last week. A couple of fumbles really cost them a week ago. I still like what Tampa Bay is doing. They ran into a buzzsaw called the Carolina Panthers a week ago. And so I will give them the benefit of the doubt. They're still playing good football. Winners of 3 out of their last 4. Give me Tampa Bay to get this one at home against the Buffalo Bills. You look at the next matchup, Kansas City at Washington. To me, there's nothing to talk about here, and I won't talk about this one. Give me the Chiefs on the road to snap their 3-game losing streak against a Redskins team that is struggling mightily on this season. You look at the next game, Cleveland at New England. The Browns getting Jason Campbell back from concussion doesn't matter. The Patriots are at home. They're the superior team. They're going to win this game. End of discussion. You look at the next game. This is a huge matchup in Week 14. Steelers hosting the Miami Dolphins. Simply put, Steelers need to win this game. They have to win this game. The Dolphins want to win this game. They need this game as well. But again, if the Dolphins lose this game, they'll go to 6-7 and still be right in the thick of things for that 6th seed. If the Steelers lose this game, they'll be 5-8 and their playoff hopes will be done. So there's a distinct difference between the two. Steelers are at home. For some reason, I'm not buying the Dolphins as a playoff team yet. I think I still need to see more from this team, and hence, I think the Steelers find a way to get it done. The Dolphins have to prove to me that they're road warriors once again. If they can win this game in Pittsburgh, that would change my whole rationale when dealing with the Miami Dolphins. Because if you go on the road, and again, the Jets aren't a good team, but you still went on the road and took care of business. If you can do it 2 consecutive weeks, that something must be said about the Dolphins down the stretch. Give me the Steelers here. Dolphins must prove to me that they can go on the road and win yet again. Give me the Steelers at home to keep their season alive and keep their playoff hopes somewhat alive by evening up their record with these Dolphins at 6-7. You look at the next matchup, Detroit at Philly. I really think that the Philadelphia Eagles are at home. They probably should win this game, but I'm really still drinking that Detroit Lions Kool-Aid. I think that at some point, I'm waiting for Nicholas Foles to start throwing some picks and making some mistakes. He made a mistake last week. The officials gave him a mea culpa. I don't see that happening this week. Look, Detroit has struggled in pass defense, and I think the Eagles could get them. I think the Eagles should get them, but I'm going with Detroit for some reason. I feel like the Lions have a chance to wrap this division up, and I think they're going to take advantage of it on the road against a hot Eagles team. Give me Detroit. I might regret that one, but give me the Detroit Lions on the road to take care of business. Indy at Cincinnati. The Indianapolis Colts are struggling offensively. The worst team that they could probably see at this point on the road would be the team they're playing in Week 14. This is a huge matchup. 2 8-4 teams that are probably going to win their division. Only problem is this Cincinnati Bengals team is undefeated at home, and this Indianapolis Colts team is struggling on offense, and this Cincinnati Bengals defense is one of the best in the league. Translation, Cincinnati takes care of business. And I don't even know if this game is going to be all that close because of the struggles of this Indianapolis Colts offense. I could easily see them running into a defense that is dominant, that can get pressure on the quarterback, that can force some turnovers. I could see this one turning ugly in Cincinnati. Give me the Bengals to take care of business in a game that wouldn't surprise me if the end result isn't that close. Give me Cincinnati to take care of the Indianapolis Colts in this game, pitting 2 divisional winners against each other that are knotted at 8-4. You look at the next matchup, my sole survivor pick of the week, Baltimore over Minnesota. Not really much to say here. If the Ravens can stop the Vikings from running the football and Joe Flacco doesn't turn it over, I don't see how the Ravens don't win this game. I mean, the extent of this offense in Minnesota right now is the running game with Adrian Peterson. And by you having to respect that running game, it opens up the passing game. If Matt Castle, who is starting in relief of Christian Ponder, can come in, make some completions, stay clean, not turn it over, then the Vikings will have a shot. But I just don't see it happening. Give me Baltimore at home to take care of business and stay atop the AFC wildcard race for that 6th and final spot in the AFC, getting to 7-6 by virtue of this win in week number 14. You look at the next game, Atlanta at Green Bay. No Aaron Rodgers once again. So this game really makes me angry because I don't trust Atlanta. But even though they played better last week, I just don't trust them. But Green Bay, what have they done in the last 5 games to have you trust them? You know, they're winless in their last 5 games. And why does this game have to be any different? I don't know, but I just feel like they should be able to run the football with Eddie Lacy against this porous Atlanta Falcons defense. And they should be able to do something at home, but I'm probably going to regret this, but I'm going with the Green Bay Packers to snap this losing and tie streak that they're on right now. They got to find a way to beat Atlanta. Atlanta isn't very good, but again, Atlanta showed me a lot last week. They could easily go into Green Bay and win this game. That's a winnable game for the Falcons, but I'm going with the Packers at home to run the football with Eddie Lacy and find a way to gut this one out. Tennessee at Denver. Denver is going to win. End of discussion. Move on. You look at the next game. San Francisco hosting the Seattle Seahawks, and what to me is probably going to be one of the marquee matchups of week number 14. Seattle has a chance to clinch this division and basically put a firm grasp on the number 1 seed with a win here. 49ers need this win just to stay inside of the playoff race at the number 6 seed. So this is a huge game for them. I think it all boils down to the 49ers are mad. They were embarrassed earlier in the season in Seattle. They don't want the Seahawks clinching this division on their turf. And this is about San Francisco making sure that they stamp their ticket to the dance. They want to get in, and they need to win this game. But this is also about sending a statement and a message to Seattle that, hey, if it comes down to it, we still think we can beat you. And them getting it done now. They're going to have to travel to Seattle if it all comes down to that in the playoffs. But right now they're at home. I think they need this game, and that's what it's ultimately going to come down to. The 49ers need this game. The Seahawks want this game. I think the 49ers, their back is somewhat against the wall. It's not squarely against the wall. They're not facing 4 corners in the corner of a wall, but they're pretty close up against it, where the Seahawks have plenty of breathing room. And trust me, the Seahawks want this one, but I think the 49ers at home, they want this one. They need this one, and that's what's going to help them win this game. It's going to be close. I expect it to be a physical football game. This one isn't for the faint of heart, but give me the San Francisco 49ers at home to snap the 7-game winning streak of the Seattle Seahawks. Give me the 49ers. You look at another NFC West family business matchup. This time, the Arizona Cardinals at home hosting the St. Louis Rams. This is a rematch of week number 1 where the Arizona Cardinals had the St. Louis Rams and let them off the hook as the Rams were able to get a win at home. This time, it's different. The Rams aren't, playing as good a football last week, losing to the 49ers. They come in at 5-7. Arizona comes in at 7-5. Arizona has to win this game. They must win this game. They don't have currently a win within the division. So if you're the Arizona Cardinals, if you want to stay alive in this playoff hunt, you must win this game at home. And really, you don't have any margin for error. You have to sweep the 4 remaining games on your schedule, win all of them, and then just look up at the standings and hope someone, does you some favors. Some other teams around the league nick some of these teams in front of you, and you're able to get in. But it looks really slim right now for the Arizona Cardinals. But all they can do is their part and win, and that's exactly what I think they will do in week number 14 by winning at home versus the St. Louis Rams. This is more about how good the Arizona Cardinals are at home and less about the St. Louis Rams, because I think the Rams are good enough to go on the road and beat this Arizona Cardinals team, but I just think the Cardinals play a different brand of football when they are at home. They're a different team, and I expect them to show that and win this game in week 14. You look at the next matchup, Giants at San Diego. San Diego Superchargers. Now, they did let me down last week with a loss against Cincinnati, but that's a really good Cincinnati Bengals football team. This Giants is not that, okay? These Giants are not as good as the Cincinnati Bengals. They don't play as good defense as the Cincinnati Bengals, and I don't expect San Diego to struggle the way they did offensively this week. Give me the San Diego Chargers to rebound off of that loss last week at home against the Giants. That takes us to the Sunday night matchup, and this is definitely, without a doubt, the biggest matchup of week number 14. San Francisco, Seattle is a huge matchup, but it does not hold the weight that this matchup does. We're talking about first place on the line, and I think this is the ultimate game, even though these two teams play each other 2 times in the next 3 weeks. I think this is the matchup that will decide the division. If the Saints are able to win this game, I think they're going to win this division with a record of 12-4, because I don't see them going to Carolina and winning in 2 weeks. But if they win this game, I think that the Saints will win this division. If Carolina, conversely, comes onto the road and beats New Orleans in their own stadium, I think Carolina is going to win this division. And so this is a huge matchup with huge playoff implications. This game could really define who will be your 2 seed and who will be your 5 seed in the NFC. I mean, this game has huge playoff ramifications. Now, again, Both of these teams have 4 games remaining. Both of these teams have other games that they have to play, but to me, this is the big one here because this one will set the platform and the stage for what is to come down the stretch in this division. And I see New Orleans bouncing back from that ugly loss on the road against Seattle and getting a win. It's just hard for me to envision Carolina going into New Orleans and winning this game. Now, they can do it. They're equipped with all of the materials necessary to get it done. And I have been on this Carolina Panthers bandwagon. I think this is a really good team that is going to wreak havoc in the NFC playoffs. If they want to show me that they don't mind going into a hostile environment when the odds are stacked heavily against them to win, then this is the time for them to step up and show me that they are the bullies that I think they are. Time for them to go and take the lunch money of the New Orleans Saints. But I'm not buying that one. I think the Saints are ready to stand up to this bully called the Carolina Panthers and win this football game. So give me New Orleans in a thriller on Sunday night to win this game and go to 10-3 and drop the Panthers to 9-4 and end their 8-game winning streak on the season. This should be a dandy one that I cannot wait to watch. But at the end of the day, I think the winner of this game is going to win this division. Hence, I think the Saints are going to take care of business in this matchup. You look at Monday night, another huge matchup in what the NFL has dubbed Survivor Sunday in the National Football League. Cowboys on the road against the Chicago Bears. This is another situation in case where a team wants this game and another team needs this game. I think Dallas actually needs this game as well. Being 7-5 right now and having the Eagles tied with them atop that division, I think the Cowboys need this game as well. So I won't say that this is a want versus a need game because the Cowboys need it just as bad as the Bears do. But the Bears are fighting for their playoff lives in terms of if they lose, they're done. They're not going to win their division. Whereas Dallas could lose this game and still conceivably win this division because they still got to play Philadelphia down the stretch. So even if they lose this game and Philly wins out until they get to Dallas and Dallas beats them that second time, Dallas would still win the division. So Dallas could conceivably lose this game and win out and still win the division. Whereas if the Bears lose this game, there is no tomorrow for them. They're done. And so I think the Bears have to have this one. They know the importance of this game. They know that there is no tomorrow without this game. Hence, I'm taking the Chicago Bears. And I really think that Josh McCown has played some really competent football in the absence of Jay Cutler. I think they can win with Josh McCown. They feel like they can win with Josh McCown. I think it's time for them to step up and get a huge signature win on the season to give them a chance to stay in that divisional race in the NFC North. Give me Chicago. That's probably one that I could regret as well, but give me Chicago at home to find a way to win that football game. And so those are my picks. I already won the Jacksonville game, so I got off to a great start this week. Feel good about that. But this is going to be a tough week, one that I feel like I still should be able to dominate, and I expect to. We'll see what happens. But thank you for joining me here in the lab room. I'm not even going to give you an extra point. I just want to get out of here at this point. I don't want to keep you here that long. So if it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Thank you for joining me. Have a good one. Enjoy the football. I'll be back on Monday to start breaking all of these games down. Enjoy the football. See you on Monday. Like the content? Want more? Sub up.
In the lab room.